Police officers of Reddit. What stupid things have people nervously said around you and instantly regretted? My father was a cop for many years, and one of his favorite arrest stories was when he pulled someone over for simple traffic violation. I think he didn't do a full stop for a stop sign. When my father asked, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" the gentleman responded, yeah, it's because of all the cocaine in the trunk. After my father read him his rights and was putting him in the back of his car, my dad asked, just out of curiosity, "How did you know I knew you had drugs in the back?" The man ushered to the radar detector in the front and said, "I saw the drug detector on the dash and I knew you had me." My father still laughs about this one 20 years later. I was sitting in my patrol car watching cars drive by one night and see a 4-door car drive by and seen it had a tail light out. Now usually I just stop the vehicle and let them know that it just needs to be fixed. So I turn on the olla cherries and berries. Me. Hello, I'm Officer Corb 1126 with the police department. Do you know the reason I'm stopping you? Him. Because I'm fricked up. Me. Very taken by surprise. Why don't you go ahead and step out of the car for me? When I was a teacher, I stood with Officer S, the school police officer, in the morning out near the bus lanes to greet students. One morning, a mom drove up to drop her child off, rolled down the passenger side window, and called out to Officer S, "If you get a call about a break-in on Smith Street, don't worry about it. It was just me," then proceeded to roll up the window and try to drive away while he ran after her shouting, "Excuse me, Mom, I need to talk to you," and I laughed my butt off. Breaks into bank on way to school. "Excuse me, sir. Don't respond to the break-in on Smith Street, thank you, bye." "Excuse me, sir. I am not a crime person." Man was beaten unconscious by 3 men. I caught one of them escaping on foot, but he vigorously denied any knowledge of any incident. Another officer had collared someone he thought might also be involved, but had little evidence other than the fact he was running away and couldn't really account for his presence. The other prisoner was being taken to a cell just as I walked into custody with mine. My prisoner looked at him and immediately yelled, Matt has got nothing to do with this. You should let him go. He wasn't even there." A+ for friend loyalty. C- for avoiding self-incrimination. I guess his only crime was being too good of a friend. And the beatings, of course. Oddly heartwarming. I'm the idiot in this situation. Being apologetic by nature. When I got pulled over for rolling through a stop sign, I said, "I'm so sorry, officer. I do it all the time." Got stopped going 102 on the interstate in Kansas last summer. When he asked why on earth I was going so fast, I panicked and said, "We have a long drive ahead of us." Pulled a guy over on suspicion of drunk driving. We didn't have an ESD breathalyzer, but he was so drunk he was adamant that my radio was a breathalyzer. Anyway, whilst we were waiting, he started to get really agitated as he thought we were up to something. He was begging to have a go on the breathalyzer radio. Eventually I let him blow into the radio antenna, told him it was faulty and we had to wait for another. Unsurprisingly, he failed and got arrested. Not quite what you asked for, but it still makes me chuckle. I had someone drunkenly confess to me that they witnessed a murder and knew where the murder weapon was ditched. Did you follow up on the tip? Did it lead anywhere? I passed the info along to the investigating detectives. They already had a suspect, but the new witness helped to secure a confession. I have 2. First, was a suspicious person behind a business that had been burglarized a bunch of times in the past. Me. What's your name? Suspect. Jonathan. Me. Okay, how do you spell it? Suspect. JOTHNATHON. Size. My name is Robert and I have a warrant. Second was a traffic stop. Driver is in tears begging me not to give him a speeding ticket since he was going to have his license suspended. Me. Tell you what, if you have any information about something more serious than this ticket, I'll give you a warning. Driver. A couple buddies and I broke into a bunch of cars by Main Street. Me. You've got to be kidding me. Driver. I swear, all the stuff we took is at my friend's house. Turns out the driver was part of a group that was going through cars that were unlocked. We ended up arresting 4 people, 2 adults, 18 years old, and 2 juveniles. They all went to jail for a few years, but I kept my promise and did not give the driver a ticket. What are you in for? I couldn't spell Jonathan. Jonathan made me laugh. If you are enjoying this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe. I was once pulled for speeding on a wooded parkway late at night, and I had been seeing tons of deer looming next to the roadway. So I was gripping the steering wheel tight and focused like a laser on the road because I was petrified of hitting a deer. So I didn't notice when my speed crept up on me. But when the officer asked why I was going 20 over, I get why my saying. It's because I was afraid of hitting a deer. Didn't really go over very well. I didn't want to hit the deer, sir. I wanted to frickin' demolish it. I knew a kid who was arrested after pointing a gun at the police after they stopped him because they got a call about car prowlers. When he tried to run away he slipped and fell. So they caught him. When the police officer was telling the other officers that the guy was trying to shoot at him, he said I forgot to take the safety off. He basically just admitted to attempted murder of a police officer and was sentenced to 13 years in prison at the ripe old age of 17. So he could have evaded that charge if he didn't admit he forgot to remove the safety. What are the charges for pointing a gun at an officer attempting to detain you? I don't know what he could have or would have been charged with otherwise, but since he basically admitted that he did try to fire it, they were able to charge him with attempted murder. My mother is a police officer. She once stopped a woman who was on her phone while driving and doing something else as well. I don't know what exactly. Smoking a cigarette or something. Well, the woman saw them, panicked and intended to throw out her cigarette and put the phone away. Did it the other way around. Threw the phone out of the window. Edit. I just asked her. She said they were on the lookout for people who weren't buckled in. I don't know if this is the correct word. Like the seatbelt is actually connected. She tried to quickly buckle herself in. Instead threw her phone out of the window and didn't manage to buckle herself in either. Put the cigarette in her pocket. Threw the seatbelt out the window. I have a story about something stupid I did and said. I joined a new D&D group. They played in the neighborhood near mine, about a 10-minute drive away. I had my L plates Australia, so I was allowed to drive with a licensed driver, but not on my own. The meeting was pretty late and it was dark out. Public transport wasn't readily available and I didn't really feel comfortable walking in the dark. So I figured it's really close. I'll just drive, so I drive there and one of the guys is waiting for me outside to make sure I find the house. I parallel park in front of the house. Did I park okay? I asked him as I get out. Yeah, you're good. He says, oh good. I actually only have my L plates and don't want to screw up. I say stupidly for no reason at all. I'm a police officer. I laugh. Because he's obviously kidding. He doesn't laugh. He was not kidding. It was super awkward. He took pity on me and let it slide. Rolled one on a charisma check. My friend apologized for not drinking after the cop asked her if she'd had anything that night. How can I help you, officer? Have you had anything to drink tonight? No, Celine's into radio. Dispatch, we have a freaking nerd. My brother was caught with a decent amount of marijuana in middle school. Told the officer I wasn't gonna smoke it, I was just gonna sell it. Not a cop, but I was walking home at 2 a.m. a few years ago, about 15 minutes away from my place, when a cop came up behind me in a cruiser, crossed into the opposite lane, just to pull me over. I was walking on the sidewalk. The whole thing actually made me laugh because out of the corner of my eye I saw the flashing lights, heard the siren, and saw this cop haul booty across the street to pull me over. When he rolled down the window to get my attention, I asked, sorry officer, was I speeding? He did not find it funny. He kept me for 30 minutes, in the cold, harassing me. He kept asking me if I had cocaine on me, or knew how to easily get it. Either he was determined to bust me for something at that point, or just wanted to buy cocaine. My girlfriend was going through customs one time, and when the security guy asked her if she was carrying anything, she responded with just my explosive personality, followed by finger guns and a wink. This set of actions was immediately regretted. Crossing the US border to Canada with a friend. Officer, any drugs or weapons in the vehicle? Friend, just this dope next to me. Points to me. They tore our car up. Good joke, but when my dad was in his 20s, him and his friends, and my mom, were crossing that same border and the officer asked any drugs or weapons in the vehicle and he replied no. But if I did, would I really tell you? They tore the car apart. Took over 2 hours. I once thanked an officer for giving me a speeding ticket. Not police officer, but my significant other nearly got me interrogated. A police officer was canvassing the area regarding a recent assault robbery a few hundred feet away from our house. He was giving a description of the suspect. Tall, slim, light hair, and she goes, "Ha ha ha, sounds like my boyfriend." I was listening in the kitchen cooking and almost dropped the lasagna. Close enough. A friend of mine is a cop and the first time he pulled anyone over it was a couple of teenagers in the car. My buddy says to them jokingly, "Alright guys, where are you hiding the pot?" They were instantly terrified, so they opened the middle console and handed him an 1/8 ounce of weed. He couldn't believe it and said he honestly felt really bad because at that point he had no choice but to write them up. I used to intern for a prosecutor. We had one case where we had the officers report for the DUI. After completing and passing the field sobriety, the guy told the officer, "Oh good, I thought you were going to ask me to say the alphabet backwards. I can't even do that sober." We kept a copy of the report in the office for later laughs. Pull over a car because I was 99% sure she was texting. I get to the window and her phone is on the passenger seat with iMessage open. Me. "Hi. Do you know what the speed limits are on this stretch of road?" Her. "Yeah, 30 miles per hour." Me. "How fast do you think you were going?" Her. "I don't know, I was on my phone." Not a cop, and less nervous than being little, but when I was a kid my mom ran a red and then got pulled over for speeding like 10 minutes later. The cop asked, "Do you know what you did wrong?" My little child self screams from the back seat, "Yeah, she ran a red light." The cop nearly peed herself laughing and let my mom off. Ha 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 he ha. If you guys enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. Or don't, I'm not your boss. Do you guys have any dumb things that you have ever nervously said to a police officer?